Welcome to It's Not You, It's the Media. I am joined by Madhuri Shastri and Suchitra Vijayan, and we are very
Hello.
excited to do a little bit of a teachery episode on some of the things we are addicted to, and we want to be good aunties and tell you to stop being addicted to celebrity content on your social media. Okay, so the title of this episode is Why Celebrity Algorithms Are Destroying You, and we really mean it actually. And I think we want to start by talking about the fact that there is an algorithmic control over our lives in on the internet and social media, the searches you do, the kind of accounts you have, the kind of content you scroll through. And I think more often people are less aware of how intense this control is and how much it impacts one's minds, right? And I think so. I want to start by talking a little bit about algorithms themselves, what they are. I'm not a math major or a computer major, so at most I can be very banal when I say what these algorithms are, specifically in social media. They're basically data that govern the platform's operations, and then they determine what sort of content you get, how it's filtered, ranked, selected. For example, if one thing starts to get a bunch of likes, then that thing will come back to you again and again and again. Now, this does not mean that you have liked that post. It just means that the feed or the platform that you're on has decided this is a popular post and it can keep going and perpetuating itself. So this is what algorithms do. And very quickly, I became aware of, I was on Facebook. I was one of the early users back in 2005 or something like that, when there was an innocence actually at that point. And we just did it. We shared pics of our kids, of our travel and cute stuff, and then political opinions. And it felt very organic. And then at some point you started to see a lot of ads. If you were Googling with a real estate agent about renting a new place, you got a million ads on Facebook of that. If you were searching a certain book and you started to immediately see the connection between the two, it also just became a marketplace. And one of the more interesting things that I read, of course, about this sort of thing was the ways in which it rigged out the elections, and people left Facebook in numbers after Trump got elected and not Hillary, because Facebook actively helped Trump with their intense algorithms. And the whole idea was that actually these algorithms were offered to Hillary Clinton, but she didn't accept them, and she didn't take this contract, and then Trump took it, and then he actually won. So I don't know what all the research on that. There's a lot of research on this stuff. But what I realized is that everybody sees something different, right? And this was a big epiphany for me. So if I Googled Egypt, what I got based on the sort of person I was, or the research I was doing, or who my friends were, I got a lot of stuff on Arab Springs, Tahrir Square, all that kind of stuff. But if you were a different kind of person, you got, tours on the Nile, go visit the pyramids. So everybody's feed and everybody's research yielded something different based on their hobbies, based on the data that they had put in. So anyway, this was a huge epiphany for me, and I just wanted to start before we get to the celebrity part of it. When did you all become aware of the influence of algorithms in your worlds?
Yeah, so thanks for that introduction, Bhakti. That's a very succinct, nice introduction into algos. I first became aware of algorithms, I want to say with Instagram, because
Yeah.
by the time, I left Facebook pretty early on. And for me, I found my algorithms to be really, really effective. They really do feel bespoke
They
in
get
a
you.
Yeah, they feel bespoke. They are made for me. And I was hooked. I would see more and more of the things I liked. I started to become really aware of it. I remember the moment was when I was looking for a reservation for a particular restaurant, and I was using an app on my phone, maybe about 7 years ago, and Open Table or something. And it was not available. And I was on Instagram scrolling a few, maybe hours later, and I saw reservations and an ad for that restaurant pop up. And it was so scary. And then, I started to get more aware of it because I realized that my phone is listening to me, and things I even talk about are beginning to get reflected in my, in the sort of suggested for you or in the ads or whatever it was. And I realized that yes, the algorithms are getting more and more sophisticated, and I was completely falling for them. I would fall into the abyss of the reel and the suggested reel, and I
Yeah.
was really totally in it. And I don't even think I interacted. Like, I'm a lurker on social media. I really stopped engaging. So I don't like, I don't comment, I don't engage in those very traditional ways to feed the algorithm. I
Hmm.
simply click, scroll, scroll, scroll. And then I joined TikTok. And that's when it really occurred to me what a sophisticated algorithm works like. Because the content on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram at this time was becoming more dynamic. I mean, it was reels and videos, but there was also static images, whereas TikTok had the like zippy,
Mm.
15-second content, 10-second content.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Some statistic about the average user spending something like zero point 0.2 seconds or something per swipe into the next thing on their For You page, which is extremely brilliantly curated. And the algorithm got so sophisticated that it needs less and less time for it to clock what you are interested in and show you more of that, right? So something like in less than a second, your algorithm can tell you what you are interested in watching and show you more and more of that. And TikTok really took the game to another level. So from the listening, from the Googling, to just spending absolutely no time and it figuring it out, that was my transition with like realizing how much algorithms are dictating my life. And I just wanted to say one thing before I pass the mic to Suchitra, to your point about how it's bespoke, it's made for each person. There was recently a, I don't even know how to call it, but maybe a trend on TikTok and on I saw it on TikTok where the prompt was, type in like my man on the search function and it will show you like who your perfect man is. Or
What?
type in book in the search bar, just book, and it will show you your perfect books, and it will, things like that. And then put in shoe, type in shoe in your Google search, and it will show you what shoe, the perfect shoes for you. And that's how well it knows you. It was so bizarre because I typed in shoe in my Google search bar, and obviously, based on all the shoes I've looked at over the past, whatever, 20 years, it showed me like the exact type of shoes that I would gravitate towards. So it was the shoe version of me. And so really, I mean, you don't even have to do any more than watch things for a microsecond or put in a single word prompt in order for your computer or your algorithm to give you something that is unique and feels bespoke to you.
Hmm.
For me, I think the algorithm, maybe it's because I'm also with someone who does this work in terms of what it means to target, whose entire bread and butter is this work. Um, in as early as 2014, 15, we were being told that Amazon can tell you if you're pregnant or not based on your Amazon orders. I was like,
Good.
and my second engagement with it was really, I think we also have to understand that the way social media and algorithms have been weaponized in India, particularly, is far ahead of what we are experiencing
Yeah.
in the US. I feel like in the US, it's like all of us who have lived through what happened in India are now re-experiencing it in a different way.
Hmm.
In India, what was interesting for me is how when I did start using Twitter quite actively in 2017, 18 is when I really started. I've had an account for a really long time. It's only 16, 17 when I started engaging with it. You saw how certain posts would drive certain kinds of engagement.
Yeah.
And you realized that the more ridiculous you were sounding, the more engagement it seemed to create.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I am saying the dumbest things, and
Hmm.
why is this getting 10,000 likes?
Yeah.
And I'm saying incredibly
Intelligent stuff.
important, intelligent things, and it's like 4 likes. Like, what is happening? And then you also realize that because attention economy is such a drug,
Right.
you had to catch yourself from saying, okay, am I now modifying my behavior? Another interesting moment for me was when Rohit Vemula died. I'd written something about Rohit Vemula and the history of suicide within communities that resist. From Walter Benjamin to others, like, what does it mean, the act of suicide? I write it, I post it, and the amount of ads I got for suicide prevention, about apps that can help you think about depression, that was the moment when I was like, this place is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A few months
Yeah.
later, something else happened, and I eventually left by the end of the year. But for me, it is also how these
Yeah.
platforms are exploiting what's happening. But algorithm is also not just tailoring things based on what you like. It is understanding what you like and re-engineering your likes. And
Right.
that is the
Like,
most important thing. It's re-engineering what you think.
Absolutely. I think we had a moment, which Madhuri is talking about, the bespoke moment, where it was individual, and that was a fun algorithmic moment. Narcissistic, but fun. But now, and the reason why I think we're doing this episode is because that moment is gone and it is all about re engineering. My biggest issue right now is that, say, I only want to read about Palestine when I'm on Instagram, I just want to scroll through that. I will
yeah.
get 6 posts from the people I follow that report on Palestine or talk about Palestine, and then it'll have suggested reels, and the suggested reels are all celebrities. They are all celebrities saying stupid stuff, some Bollywood celebrities, some this. And I know some of it is about the people I follow, but I actually have two accounts. I have a private account that's just kids and stuff like that. And then I have a Worscapes account, which is very different. And it is, I only follow other political accounts and so on. So maybe they are liking celebrity things, but not that much, you know. And at the end of the day, the suggested reels are only telling me to look at some celebrity stuff, silly stuff, or Meghan Markle or Anne Hathaway or Beyonce. And this is absurd, and this is aggressive, and this is toxic, and this is really, really concerning to me. And re-engineering is a brilliant word, Suchitra. That's exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to re-engineer my politics. It's seriously, intense. And of course, we should talk about what celebrity culture means within that.
Also, I just want to put something out there. This was a time when a very good friend of mine, Raj Shekhar, did a story for Himal South Asian that talked about the Ambanis and the zoo that they're creating. And I remember posting this, and I usually do not consume any of the Ambani content, their wedding content.
Yeah, me neither.
What was interesting is after I posted this story that he had done on my Instagram, I think, stories, all of a sudden my Instagram suggestions for reels were all Ambani weddings, and the wedding had been over for some time, by the way. And
Mhm.
it was just like, it was as if they were telling me, no, 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 like, here, let's show you this story of opulence. Let's show you Nita Ambani at Harvard telling people how she's going to put diyas all over Lincoln Center. It was the most bizarre algorithmic engagement that I have seen, where it's like you're
Mhm.
posting something critical of them, and then Instagram provides you everything that is whitewashed and pink washed and blue washed and green washed about this family.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, I think part of this is that even if you are using your particular account, I assume, Bhakti, you said that your suggested reels for celebrities you get on your Warscapes account, in addition to the people that you follow, is because it really does you're using it on your phone, and it is picking up on what you are saying or what you are texting about or whatever it is, like I would not be surprised if simply a mention of Beyonce in this conversation,
Yeah.
leads you to see more Beyonce reels.
Mhm.
They know that no matter what, there is some sort of voyeuristic interest in celebrities, and so
Sure.
they're going to force feed you that content in order to, in the hopes of giving you a little bit of a dopamine hit or whatever, so you keep on scrolling.
Yeah.
So it is essentially to keep you hooked to them, in addition to re-engineering your
Yeah.
likes or your views or whatever it is. It's entirely to keep you on the app longer and longer, because
Yeah.
one way or another you are staying there longer. Either you're wondering, why am I seeing this? Or you scroll enough to find something interesting to take
Hmm.
you down a rabbit hole.
Absolutely. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I think for me, what's wild is that there are three logics that are coming together, which is the toxic logic, which is what we're saying when this is destroying you, is that there is the algorithmic logic, which is political, ideological, you know, we have the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world and the Elon Musks of the world who are determining precisely what that algorithm is, what that logic is to keep you in there, what will keep you in there, right? So it's like really messing with your mind. There is the constant thing with these social media platforms, which is the logic of commerce and consumerism. Buy that shoe, buy that whatever, buy that item, buy that skincare thing, whatever, all that stuff, and then of course they also frame it as like for small business owners and stuff like that, which is bollocks. It's really is just buy something, right? And then the third thing now added on, which has become a whole thing now, is the celebrity culture logic. So we have the logic of consumerism, we have the ideology of the political ideology of these very aggressive algorithms coming together with these celebrity things. And I think one of the first times I noticed like all three of it coming together, and then it was and I kept noticing it, was when they were aggressively marketing the film Barbie. And they marketed it as feminist, as this, as that. Pink is back. Buy a pink outfit. Buy pink shoes. Margot Robbie, Issa Rae, whoever was in it. It was just an absolute onslaught. It's been lauded as one of the most successful publicity campaigns in
Yeah.
history, right? And
Mhm.
everybody who went to watch it found themselves appropriated of any vocabulary to talk about it except the one that they had been given by social media. And I waded through it and waded through it, and I fought against it in every way because I used to love Barbies when I was a kid. So there was a nostalgia that was grabbing me towards this stuff. But the second time around, the thing that I don't care about at all, and I thought it was the worst movie I had watched in years, Wicked. Okay,
Okay.
and it's just awful. And of course, I had to watch it. I have two kids, and they're into musicals, whatever, right? Um, we are in the middle of a genocide. Every single day we are bystanders. I'm not going to use the word witness. We are bystanders to this stuff. And after the massacre of almost 800 people in Gaza recently, when the genocide resumed in full on and the ceasefire broke forever, um, I really have been trying to fight these celebrity algorithms, but they won't let me, because you know what? I do watch White Lotus. I do watch some of these other
Exactly.
shows. So they will not let me off the damn hook. I
Yeah.
can scroll past it really fast, or I can say, hide this post, and they won't let me. It's really messed up.
I mean, the one thing that I also wanted to add as a factor in this is how newspapers or whatever digital publications essentially also leaned into and profited off of celebrity culture, and
Yeah.
repackaged it for millennials. Like, for example, I was thinking about BuzzFeed, who just essentially became a trend aggregator or an algorithmic trend aggregator, and would just like put out these posts, and either they were like, which Ariana Grande character are you? Whatever.
Uh-huh.
It could be something like that, or it was like, what kind of toast are you? Some whatever bullshit, either ridiculous quizzes or whatever. But then, if you do follow newspapers
Mhm.
and you do like the news, and the news is profiting off of this, just like being an algorithm aggregator, then there is just no way for you to escape, because celebrity culture has been captured by everything, by politics, by feminism, as you said. Like the Barbie movie is a great example, because no matter what you are interested in, there is a way to
They
funnel
got you.
celebrity gossip in through that, right? So
Mm.
If you read BuzzFeed, if you read the news, then you get BuzzFeed's algorithms aggregated. If you read celebrity aggregate, if you ever have looked at even one paparazzi video, then Bollywood will bombard you with their crazy paparazzi videos. If I like, I don't know, I'm a culture, writer and editor, so I cannot escape because I'm always Googling something or the other, some kind of zeitgeisty thing. So I'm really looped in. If you are watching a TV show, you're looped in. If you are interested in feminism, then they will send you some feminist celebrity reel or whatever it is. But the point is, in my opinion, that no matter what you're interested in, they want to hook you using a celebrity as the bait,
Yes.
and the celebrity wrapped in your whatever your interest.
This is also what you saw with the Democratic Party's election campaign.
Yes.
God, absolutely.
They were trying to mirror your TikTok and that with the campaigns, right? Where, of course, the Brat and Charlie XCS, and but reality is that when that left TikTok and transitioned into the democratic stage in public, all you saw was celebrity after celebrity, celebrity after celebrity, and people were like, hold on a minute. I get this on my TikTok, but I am here because you're telling me the worst thing to happen to America is happening, and why am I seeing a bunch of people shaking their ass? How is it relevant to my increasing prices? And that was a discourse again that was happening across the place, but again not something that was reported. But again, I think we're also seeing this thing where this screen life and real life are becoming conflated, where we're trying to bring the
Mm,
same culture to real life and it's not working. For example, if you really look at what was happening, one minute you saw all of these celebrities who were doing incredibly well on social media platforms, who were then repurposed from your TikTok algorithms and bought on stage for Kamala Harris to kind of, these were celebrities that was again used to say, oh my God, I'm with Kamala, I'm with Kamala. The performances. People were outraged to realize how the Harris campaign went broke. And when we were looking at the breakup of how the breakdown of the costs, vast majority of costs go to entertainers and performers. And the question that was asked over and over again is that why? Why is it that we are having performers come and perform in what is pitted as one of the most important elections of our lifetime,
Yeah.
apparently a fight against fascism and authoritarianism, and Beyonce is dancing? How is Beyonce
I
on
know.
the stage dancing anything to do with the message you're trying to convey? And I think there is that conflation that celebrity culture is the most important culture, and that becomes a nucleus of everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I didn't think of it that way because also even the speeches and stuff during the Democratic National Convention constantly referenced memes and tried to get cheap laughs out of like various videos. There was this assumption that we are all in this together on social media, and now we will regenerate a social media movement. That's a really good analysis, actually, and I hadn't thought of it. It's really perturbing. It's really gross. And then, of course, this stuff that, I made sure not to follow it, and it kept creeping back in. Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. They had some kind of a feud, and it went on and on and on. And it was just nonstop. I still will not be able to tell you what it was, but man, I get that stuff over and over and over. And I just don't know. There is just no way out of this.
Also, the Johnny Depp trial,
Oh
where
my gosh.
it was like, I don't know, where the entire trial was moved to a jurisdiction where it could be televised. And we had TikTok reporters report on the story day in and day out. And I know everything about the Johnny Depp trial, and I didn't even care for Johnny Depp before.
I know, or her.
Amber
And
Heard.
someone's texting you and saying, hey, do you see that? And you're like, what? Why are you like interested in Johnny Depp? Because
I
that was
know.
what the Twitter, the
Well,
algorithm was providing, was pushing over and over again.
Yeah, I want to get to what I promised our listeners, which is our us being um, wagging our finger and saying these celebrity algorithms are destroying you. Why do you think that is? First point, of course, is that our attention spans are now down to what, 6 seconds? You know, our short attention spans, it's like on the one hand we complain about short attention spans, on the one hand it's like we're actively seeking this shortness. I mean, it's like I really never sustain a reel that's longer than 15 20 seconds, you know. So why are these algorithms destroying us? I think for me it's a combination of the consumer stuff, the celebrity stuff, and then the politics of these algorithms, right?
Yeah, so I think that they are particularly pernicious because they also have this effect of distracting from what is really going on
Yeah.
in the world. And when we were researching for this show, Super Bowl, for example, which is like the biggest parade of celebrity and American celebrity culture. The Super Bowl halftime show is when like Israel will really use that to strike or to do something
Hmm.
intense or insane, and the American government will. And it's because they know how much of how all the eyeballs and whatever limited attention span we have will be directed in that to the Super Bowl, right? In that direction. So it's like magic, right? You look here, we'll do the thing here, and then tomorrow we know there'll be Super Bowl analysis anyway, and no analysis of what we did at all. So it just
Yeah.
provides total cover. Because the worst thing for me, so that's the thing. One is distraction, and the other awful thing that I think about this is the sort of like, and I'm guilty of writing these, I'm guilty of like all of this, but the think pieces that these types of things will generate, these type of celebrity spectacles will generate.
No.
So there's just, I'm guilty of writing them, I'm guilty of consuming them, I'm guilty of publishing them, but it's just, you cannot escape it, because now it has this veneer of intellectualism. It has this idea that like, oh, we must engage with it in this way or whatever. But really what you're doing is analyzing the same event over and over and over and over and over again. So there is really, I think this whole episode, what I'm realizing is just the myriad of ways in which you are locked into it,
Yeah.
into the matrix, and there is no escaping it. So whether it is intellectualized or it's used as distracting, the algorithm is there to just, um, I'm sorry, whether it's used to distract you, it is just incredibly pernicious in the way that it operates. So that's why I think that's the way I think in which they are really destroying you.
It's such a terrible slow erosion that I just don't know what to do anymore. Because for me, the thing is that as someone who constantly does work in what is considered the alternative or not the mainstream,
Yeah.
the digital is one of the few places for us to project power. We
Absolutely.
are entirely a digital magazine. We are entirely digital. There is no print.
Yeah.
So we do rely on, and we are constantly thinking of ways to get attention. We are part of the attention economy.
Sure.
Recently, what really gutted me was listening to a podcast by three men, which I shouldn't, but I did for research. Um, is really someone saying at this point in time the attention is worth more, which means that a social media influencer is worth more than a brain surgeon. And I just kept thinking, what?
Wow.
Yeah, so I think that for me. And the second thing for me is also what has happened to the communities we've built in these digital spaces.
Yeah.
One of them, of course, is Twitter, where we've had the most traction before Trump, before Musk came on,
Musk.
took it over.
Mhm.
And now we have new data that says that over 50% of interaction in X, formerly Twitter, is now artificial, not artificial, is geared towards Elon Musk.
Mhm.
Elon Musk gets the most eyeballs on Twitter. So the entire Twitter or X ecosystem is now shifted towards giving this man child
So gross.
the most attention. And that's
Yeah.
it. 50% of all attention on X now goes
Mhm.
to Elon Musk. And there was once an instance where apparently a tweet by Joe Biden got more likes than what Musk got. And he literally called all of the engineers back in and said, why is it that my tweet saying the same thing does not have as much engagement? And he
Amazing.
reshaped the algorithm.
Amazing.
That's where we are.
So it's just, yeah, do we laugh or do we cry? I mean, one of the things that I have teenage kids, preteen and a teen, and One of the things about the celebrity algorithms is also the impact it has on your own body, your eating, all of those kinds of things like body image stuff. And that's also part of some of what one is saying. Of course, the outstanding thing remains where to shape the counter narrative. And I don't know, the slow erosion is real. you know the commercialization of everything is real, and I don't know where one does it. I mean, it's a dilemma, and I think we have consistently existed in neoliberal spaces, so I know we'll find a way. It's just a very bleak moment right now, I think.
I mean, I think not to the point about the counter narrative, but more to the point about um, self image and celebrities. There's also something to be said, which I didn't draw the link earlier, between the popularization of reality TV and social media rise, and then lowered self-image. Because
Yeah.
I don't think at any point of time were we supposed to have what we felt like such intimate insight into the lives of celebrities,
Anyone. Yeah.
to anyone's lives, exactly, but it feels like with shows ranging from the Kardashians to you feel like you know them and you feel like you have an insight into them, so then you're more invested in them, and then they post all this stuff on social media because obviously it's a commerce website, and Instagram in particular. And there's also all of the filters and the AI generated images and all of those things that they are doing to sell themselves, to keep up with the trends that they pass on to you. And it is really impossible to disinvest when you feel like you know them personally. Like everybody's like trying to get into a glimpse of into celebrity homes or into celebrity
Mm.
wardrobes, or like you said, into celebrity diets, or into a get ready with me morning routine. And why is it that we need to know so much about them? So this idea, like it's taken voyeurism to another level. Like it's not simply like curiosity, like a celebrity coming on a show and talking about fashion and whatever. Like that's fine. That has happened since the dawn of time. It is
Sure.
the removal of the barrier between like, oh, I'm going to watch a TV show about this, to like, I'm just going to open Instagram and search for this celebrity and I can find out every single thing about them, from what they do. Like you also have these influencers who replicate um XYZ's morning routine. Like, this is Khloe Kardashian's morning routine, and I'm going to eat like Victoria Beckham for one day. And it's just, it's
I know it's
so bizarre. But what kind of a life are you trying to live?
I
Whose
know.
life are you trying to live? And what? So it's really damaging to me, because it's a complete erosion of the self-image, but also it's also a really inauthentic way of being. So you're not really trying to be, I don't mean this in a woo-woo sense. You're not trying to cultivate aspects of yourself and your character into being something more authentic. You're simply trying to replicate. And we have a whole episode on fascism and fascist aesthetics and
Yeah.
Instagram. But obviously, celebrity algorithms lead you into that path of fascism so much more quickly than anything else.
Exactly.
It's also this moment of keeping up with the Joneses, right? Like the keeping up with the Joneses taken to a
Yeah,
very different
Totally.
level, where I think the reality TV culture and the Kardashians are not, I mean, there was a reality TV culture even before the Kardashians came on screen.
mm,
I think there is something to go back to that moment when Kardashians just blew up.
yeah,
Right? Here you had, and I think humans are voyeuristic and we are constantly like, I think the fact that gossip, um, I think someone once said gossip is foundational to community building. Apparently, the closest people are people who gossip, and I think we've had lots of research on gossip and how gossip builds community and also destroys it. Also, I mean, at least a very certain kind of harmless gossip does build community. What we saw then was the human need for gossip and voyeurism really just being broadcast into our houses.
Mm.
exactly.
Same time, we also saw war being broadcast into our houses, like the direct bombing from the Kuwait to the Afghanistan war, and to now where we are, from
Yeah.
the whole of Afghanistan to Gaza being live streamed. I think that's what Kardashian culture did, from the celebrity culture that we had voyeuristic access to, of these young, beautiful women across prepubescent to
Sure.
adults growing up before us.
Babyhood even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then now, I think we also realized that celebrity changed. what celebrity was changed.
Mm.
Who is considered a celebrity is changed. It is no longer the Brad Pitts of the world. It's no longer the movie stars. And now everybody can be a celebrity.
I know.
Everybody can do outfit of the day. Everybody, I regularly, what was very interesting for me is once I crossed a certain Twitter follower, and I remember automatically getting people saying, will you do sponsored posts for us? Will you do this for us?
Hmm.
Instagram, I regularly even now get thing, can you tag the clothes that you're wearing? Can
Yeah.
you do paid? And again, I don't have a large following. I don't have, and what is interesting is that, and people then feel rewarded by it.
Mm.
Hmm.
There is a reward associated with saying, oh, do people really want me to like tell them
Yeah,
what
yeah.
I'm wearing?
Absolutely,
Am I an
absolutely.
influencer?
No, it totally feeds a kind of narcissism, right?
It
Yeah.
feeds narcissism. I think for me, what was interesting is when um, me and we have this thing where, and I recently saw my very young child look at the mirror and for the first time touch her stomach. She's like a baby. And then you realize that, God, it's getting to them earlier
Yeah.
and earlier.
It's happening. Hmm.
Like, I didn't I didn't become aware of my body till I was 13 or 14. I had that extra few years. And I think we all didn't become aware of it. I was also like not very well developed. Like, and now I can see
I
baby
know.
girls, and I think that is, I think, what we're really losing, the sense that we're all
Absolutely.
celebrities now.
Hmm.
We are all celebrities.
Yeah. The horrible version of that, I mean, this is horrible too. There's body consciousness and issues and all that. But my favorite thing was when my daughter was 9 or 10. She came back and she was talking about. She's like, oh, X person said they are depressed. It's self-diagnosed. And it's like, what is self-diagnosed? And
Oh my
and this,
God.
this is a very normal thing they will say. They are whatever, it's self-diagnosed. And it's like, what is diagnosed, what is self, what do you know about these words, what is depression, what is anxiety? It's really, and it really does all come from the internet. Maybe not all social media, but a heavy interaction online, of whatever. Yeah.
And I
So
think, well, for me, what was really shocking was there's a series on Netflix, and I want to conclude with this. Is a series called Adolescence, where you look at this
oh
young
yeah.
boy who's 13 years old. It's a very tight series. And I think the most touching part of that series was not so much that this young boy who was 13, who was so adorable, ends up, killing his classmate because of, like, some kind of. It's not about just incels, or it's just that it towards the end it takes to its parents, and it shows you that these are parents who are discussing their own childhood. And the father talks about how when he was 13,
Hmm.
he fell down, broke his nose, everybody made fun of it, but he still ended up, the woman that he married is also the woman that he was still interested in as a 13-year-old. Back then, there was a grace that allowed you to make mistakes. People would laugh. It taught you resilience, and you still took your 13-year-old girlfriend back home, and you still had your first kiss. But the time period, which is now seems so far away, is
Yeah.
that you no longer have the grace to grow
Hmm.
up in a place where you don't get, you're not a snowflake, you don't get fragile. Yes, of course you fall down, of course break your nose, of course you do mistakes, of course
Yeah.
you're silly, of course you're stupid, but then you have the grace to learn from it. You People laugh at you, you build resilience, and then you go on to have an adult, a childhood or adulthood that can prepare you for the world. My biggest concern is that I don't think we have it anymore.
Yeah, and my biggest concern is that now I will watch this show because you said all these moving things, but truth is they're aggressively marketing to me right now.
Yeah,
You
Oh,
see,
probably know my children's ages.
no, they're aggressively marketing to everyone. You don't
Just
even have to
see
be,
anything. You don't have to even fit
you
a
don't have to have
category.
a child, nothing. You just need to.
yeah.
Okay. Well, people, watch your adolescence on Netflix, and all that's fine. But more importantly, listen to our episode on why the celebrity algorithms are destroying you. Because hey, if you've got problems, it's not you, it's the media. Thank you.